It finally happened. They did it. They fucking did it. Half-Life still lives. I called this a year ago. Half-Life 3. This is not Half-Life 3. This is actually in between and everything like that. But I called this years ago that Valve was working on something to push out VR and their new engine. So, they've been working on this for years. 15 years pretty much since Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Now, what happened? Why did they do this? Why did it take so long? Why is it on VR? It's because they were pushing it for so long. But why isn't Half-Life 3 out just yet? This, honestly, is a massive test to see if we like VR and really want to go with VR. Now, people are going to be like, the biggest issue with this Half-Life Alyx thing, and then a lot of people are complaining about, is like, but it's on VR. And I don't want to spend $1,000. It's the argument right now is like, I don't want to spend $1,000 on a VR headset, or I don't like VR yet. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of people that have that exact thought pattern at the moment where I don't like VR because of this, or I don't like VR because of that, or VR games are trash. They're not really anything good right now. This game is literally supposed to change all that, people. This is the reason why Valve has been working on it for so long. They've been wanting this to come out for years and years, and this is why they've been so quiet about it, because if they would have said something about it beforehand, the internet would have destroyed them to get it out of them. So I'm just excited as fuck that Valve is making video games again. If you look at my old video, basically Half-Life 3 is confirmed that it's gonna come out. Like there's a lot of stuff in there that a year ago that I was stating that literally is what's happening right now. Like Valve is coming out with the Source 2 engine, which was one of my out of the 5 things, the top 2 things that we didn't see from Valve, but they are the hardest pushers of, was their Source 2 engine. They were pushing that thing like crazy for a while for other third parties to sell it, and also the fact that they know they have that technology. Third party, and then also the VR. They first started off with Oculus Rift until Facebook bought it out, and then they went to HTC Vive, but they realized they were not a good partner because they didn't know how to keep their mouth shut. And Valve is very, very secretive, versus HTC Vive just wanted to open their mouth about fucking everything. So Valve said, screw it. We make enough money to where we could just build our own damn warehouse and just make our own damn hardware. And that's pretty much what they did. And I honestly think that's what took it a little bit longer to see anything, is because Valve had to wait for their own technology to come out. And, yes, they've had their own things like the Steam controller, the Steam Link, the Steam Box, and everything like that. I honestly still think those things were released to eventually build up to VR. Another thing that Valve had to wait for, too, is that people are not putting in perspective, was the technology increase. They needed to increase, the technology needed to catch up to where they wanted it to, where most basic computers actually can run basic things. See, if you were to release VR 10 years ago, most people still had computers that were 5 to 6 years older than that 10 years mark. So that means nothing would have been able to run VR. And Valve knew that. And that's probably a good reason why they waited too, is because they knew that most technology and most computers can't run what they want to do and at the smooth rates that they want. So they waited for tech to catch up until basically most people, upgraded their computers in order to play the newer versions of video games and stuff like that, and better stuff, newer video cards, more RAM. Slowly technology builds up and stuff like that. You know how 1080p used to be the 4K back in the day. Now, 1080p is just standard, and 4K is amazing. But now they're starting to come out with 8K. Technology increases. That makes everything else cheaper and more viable for people that don't have mounds of money to spend on new things. Valve knew this. They knew this a long time ago. And I don't think that's the main reason why they waited, but it's a good reason to wait. Wait for that technology to actually catch up to everything. Once it catches up, then you can start releasing products for that technology slowly. Now, a lot of people are complaining like, oh, I don't have a supercomputer that can run this. Well, honestly, if you don't have a computer that can run VR at this point, that's your own damn fault, because almost every processor and video card is VR compatible nowadays, and that's from about 2015 until now. So if you haven't upgraded at all, you are behind farther than just VR. You're behind in general video game standards. So I think you should just upgrade anyways, but the $1,000 VR headset, oof, that's one of my biggest issues right there, is just like, holy crap, I don't have that type of money. But Half-Life Alyx comes out March 2020, and that's a few months from now. Could save up and eventually get myself finally a freaking VR set. I have had no reason to buy VR, really, honestly, until now. And people were like, "Oh, what? It's just one video game." There's a lot of video games on virtual reality, a lot. Okay, so that's not my factor. There's probably other games I could play too, but Half-Life Alyx is definitely, I think, worth it, in my opinion. The game looks incredible. Looks like one of the best games on VR ever. It looks like Half-Life. It looks like new technology. It looks immersive as fuck. It looks like fucking Valve. It looks like Half-Life. It looks like Valve is back to their old ways. I don't even think they ever left. See, this is the thing. The whole community of everything sat there and just talked shit on Valve because they weren't releasing video games constantly. But if you look at the modern game maker, EA or, Activision or anything like that, all they do is make video games. The ideas run out and they get stale. Why do you think Activision makes 50 fucking Call of Duties and shit? Because they can't think of anything new or innovating. And they need to make money off their video games in order to keep their company. Valve didn't have to. They had Steam. So they didn't have to sit there and just constantly make video games that were shittier and shittier and shittier, or not as good quality, or rushed out in order to make money. They never, that statement, they never had to make a video game again. That's a true freaking statement. They never had to make a video game again. But if you're an entrepreneur and you have the funds and you're an innovator and you are, you don't care just about money, like Valve, because they have so much money, they don't need to care about it. You could start making mistakes or testing grounds and still make money off of it, still make profit. But they didn't have to make video games all the time. So now that we waited so long, for all we know, this game has been in development ever since, episode 2 was out. So for all we know, this game is so fucking polished and so well done, so fucking perfect, that Valve knows that releasing it now was the perfect time. I know this was a rant. I know this was random. And I know I just woke up, honestly. I haven't even taken my shower yet. But I wanted to make this video before I just got lazy and didn't want to do it anymore. And making my, thing. So, haha. Fuck all you haters that sat there and said that Valve's not making video games anymore. I guarantee in the next few years we're going to see a Half-Life 3. If we see Alyx... If we see Half-Life Alyx do well, we're going to see a Half-Life 3, guys. I guarantee you. We're going to see it. And we're going to see it before we die. And that's one of the best things in my fucking... It's one of the greatest things I've seen in the longest time. My life, if you know me and know anything about me, I love Half-Life. It's my favorite game of all fucking time. I've talked about it. I've ranted about it. I've sat there and defended the shit out of Valve. And I thank you, Valve, for fucking making me prove all these motherfucking haters wrong. Peace out, guys.